We've got Professor Plum. He's going to show us how to do some copper pipe bending. We did try it with this machine here, but he said it takes too long. So let's try it.
Takes too long, and right, I get asked about can I do a tutorial on bending all the time, and I always say the same thing. I do it by eye. I do everything by eye pretty much. But we're gonna have a look at some of the bends up here quick. So, got loads of 45s. We've got some 90s. Look at this, is a very fancy bend. I like this. Yeah, because that's someone that's got years and years of skill that's been able to do that.
It wasn't me.
Now, there's a few things you can do if you need to do a double bend. So you could put a valve in between, so you can see you've got 45, and then you've got your 90 as well.
Yeah.
So you could put a valve in between, and there you go. You've got two bends, and it all looks like it's nice one sort of piece.
Yes.
Now, the advantages of bending. Alan, do you know some of the advantages of bending?
Less fittings, cheaper.
Less fitting and cheaper.
Resistance is lower.
And the resistance is lower. So, there are some good benefits to it. And mostly for me, if you don't have a fitting and you can get away with doing a bend and it saves you doing a trip to the merchants, you're saving time and you're saving money as well. So, we're going to do some bends. So,
Less chance of leaking as well there.
I think what we'll do a 90 bend, because that's the easiest just to start with. Yeah? Let's start with a 90-degree bend. So, I see loads of people that set up their benders. Right, let's just set up the benders quick. And you see them doing this, and they're pushing it against the leg, and all sorts of stuff like that. How do you bend copper? Do you do it in the air, mid-air like this, against your body, against your elbow, like this, and you pull in and all these silly things? I call that a foot. And where do feet belong? On the ground. Right? So that's all locked in place. I can do that with one hand. But you've got far more control. And what can you do as well? You can put your full body weight behind it. So I can put my full body weight behind it and push down. So if I'm doing 22mm pipe, it's far easier than resting it on, say, your knee or your shoulder.
That was very easy, that.
Very easy. So this set of benders, this is like a old Hillmore set of benders, which was a prototype to my benders. That's why it's got the branding on it. But my benders are exactly the same way. You've got your marks on them, and they're nice and flat as well, so they lay flat rather than having a curve on them. So there we go, we've got our 90. And it's that bloody easy. Right?
Easy.
So that's a 90. Now, we could do a double 90. So, maybe, let's say, right, what can we take as an example? So let's just go by these two pipes. So let's say we wanted to go from one to the other, and we want them in line. Now see, I haven't got no tape measure, but if I mark in the middle of where I want that pipe to be coming up, like this, so instead of having to do setbacks, what I can do is I can go back to my bender. Now, rest it in like this. Now if I get a scrap piece of copper, and I put it in here, and I square it up, what I can do is now get that line set to the centre of that pipe there, like that. Got to look down it, make sure that everything is straight and flush. So that's good. Yeah, just look down it. Look down it, can't we? Now pull that bend, pull that to a 90. Now I look like a complete and utter arse if this doesn't work, but I've probably overshot that a little bit. But there we go. Centre and centre. How easy is that? So that's quite a good little hack for if you're doing stuff in college. The thing is now, I find with the colleges, is they want to know the measure back. Now, I really don't have a clue with the measure backs. So that's how I would do that, double 90s. Now, crossover is one of the things that people really struggle with. So we can do a crossover as well if you want to. Right, So if we're doing a crossover, so say we're starting here and we're going into an elbow, we're going into a fitting there. Now we need to be crossing over here. So we'll just put a little mark on there, right in the centre of the pipe. See, that's where we want that curve to be. Okay? So exactly the same as we did last time when we was pulling the 90. We're going to know that that wants to be the centre of the curve. And if you actually look on that bit of pipe, see that mark that we made earlier? See how it's the centre of that curve? So there we go. So what we want to do is we want to do the same again. Like this. Then we want to just pull, not quite a 90. Now you're going to pull it and look down it here. You're going to imagine the other bits pulled the other way. So how much of a gap that you need. So 45, maybe a little bit over a 45. Now, you'll just judge that as you get to do them. And we all know that, let's be honest with you, you're probably going to have a couple of mistakes and you're going to put them down. So that, I believe, was on there, but it doesn't matter now. So what we need to do is we need to measure back from this centre here. And then we're going to measure back on this one so that we get it equal. Now you could, if you wanted to, with any benders, if you come in really close, you can see where the copper is nice and straight, and just see where it starts to divot there. So we could use that as a guide. So what we could do is we could put it in, and we could do, see where this comes over? You could put that right up to that line, like that. And then you could bend from there. So we could do this one like this. And then we can do the same with the other side. And I think I probably overbent that one. Keep going, and then you look down it, and as you're bending, you just want to make sure that, yeah, that looks about right to me. It'll be that way. So there we go. But always better to do a little bit longer than you need, so then you can cut it down. So yeah, that would be a crossover. That's quite a long crossover, so what you could do is you could bring that even further back. Yeah, so you could put your clip actually on the curve rather than just off the curve. So you could put it just the other side, and then you'd get a tighter, so you'd be bending these sets further back here. So you can just play with that and get the exact style that you want to get. Here, so see how this is crossed over? So that's just a 45, and then you cut it to where you need it, and you can bring that up or down. Cut it closer to the bend or further away from the bend to get further or closer to this pipe here. So that's 45 offset. So with those, you can put it in one with a 45, and then if you put a pipe in the other bit and you go along, then you put your mark, and then you know where you want to come, where that centre of the bend is going to be, and then you just pull it back and forward as you need to get that. A lot of stuff like that is when I say I do it by eye, that's what I mean. A lot of the stuff like that I will do by eye and judge that distance. There's some pipe bending. I hope I've tried. It's very difficult to explain bending, especially when you do things by eye and you do things a certain way and you have your own little methods. It's probably not going to help you with college because you're going to need to actually know the measure backs and you've got to work those out. But there you go, pipe bending.